This is the Build Out West podcast with your host Tony Hyde from Evolution House and Land Specialists and Catherine Smith from Build Bright Builder Brokers.
If you guys are looking to build in WA or simply curious to see what's going on in building, you guys are in the right place. We're here to give insight with professionals in the game, coming to give the inside scoop. Episodes are uploaded weekly, so don't worry, we don't skip a beat and you won't either. Like, share, subscribe, sit back, relax, and let's go.
Hi there and welcome to the Build Out West podcast with your host Tony Hyde from Evolution House and Land Specialists.
And Catherine Smith from Build Bright. How you going?
Good. How's your weekend?
Weekend was busy. I had Caroline's birthday. We had 6 8-year-old girls running through my house. So I'm pretty tired. So forgive me.
Sounds like pure hell.
It was good fun.
How's Matt doing?
He's still in recovery, playing golf today. So
best way to recover, I imagine.
Yes.
No, that's good. No, good weekend. I went to Disney on Ice, took the girls to Disney on Ice. It was way more fun than I thought it would be.
For $50 popcorn and...
Oh, yeah, 2 bags of popcorn and an icy drink, and it was $180,000. So we need to do deals, guys, because I need to take the girls to Disney on Ice.
Just don't buy the merch there, because it's like $20 for a wand or whatever. And
they don't miss you and hit the wall, I tell you. They don't miss you and hit the wall. Anyway, it was fun. The girls loved it. I got to see, is it Maui? Singing You're Welcome from Moana. I was pretty happy. And Under the Sea, so I was pretty good. Anyway, on today's podcast, we want to talk about the rental yields in Perth and how good they are and why they're so high against like the median vacancy, rental vacancy and stuff like that.
I just feel like so many of our clients are saying, find me a high rental yield, the demand is high, get me a good return. So really we're just going to go through the suburbs we talk about with the clients in face-to-face one-on-one. So let's just do it in a podcast format. So let's just get through it.
I know, but on that, so if you haven't listened to the podcast before, this is me and Catherine talk about why you want to invest in Perth or the growth in Perth.
Yeah, the opportunities.
Please pause this right now, go and listen to it, then come back and this will explain why we do it, because the land is going so quick at the moment, we don't really put packages together because we just can't offer that package because the land's gone.
Yeah.
So what we try and do is get, hey, this is what I want, this is what I want to spend, this is can you make it work? Yes, no, maybe. And then we go in and I'll be honest, this is Catherine's real strong point. I do pick you off the back a little bit with some of Catherine's stuff in this area, which is great because we work together to get it done. But yeah, you're an absolute, you're a gun at this stuff, so I'll give you that.
Numbers lady. But I think we try to...
I'm the face.
Yeah. The face of the podcast.
The face of the podcast.
No, we like to categorize clients into like different needs and wants. And I think this one is really just targeting people that are looking for that high rental yield. So not your first home buyers, not your people looking for dual living necessarily, or people looking for double stories. This is purely for people who are looking for those high rental yield suburbs. And we're going to go through the top 5 that we're looking at the moment. So right now, Perth, in general sense, we're looking at a 0.6% vacancy rate for rentals. So a lot of the time the media is talking about vacancy rates being so scarce in Sydney. You see those lines out the door, you've seen it all the time on the news and stuff like that. Yeah. But what's scary about that is Sydney actually has a 1.3% vacancy rate. So almost twice as many rentals as we do currently on the market. We're at a 40-year low for vacancy rates in Perth.
And there's still people out there struggling to find rentals. We know that, This is why we're saying, this is good to be investing here. Yeah,
the demand, as someone who is a property investor, I've never seen it like this, It's scary. My brother, his property was $380 per week. He was renting it out. $670 now.
Jesus.
And I'm not even joking. This is in crazy. Huntingdale, $670 in Huntingdale.
That's
$670
mad.
in Huntingdale. It's like, you would never have thought it, and it's just getting higher and higher. It's just the vacancy rate is so low, the demand is so high. In the last podcast, we were talking about the population growth. But really everyone that is contacting me for rentals at the moment are really like those students, the backpackers, the people coming for FIFO for a year or two. They're looking for a room, they're looking for a house, they don't really care, they just need something. Yep. Property managers can cherry pick as well. They're looking for people who have got 5-year rental history, those sort of things, which again is difficult if you're just literally come to either WA or Australia and you don't have that.
Yep.
But yeah, let's go through.
So just so like the kind of the layout of how WA kind of works, right? So Perth's bang in the middle on the Swan River, right? So the city of Perth. And in the way Perth really looked at it is north the river, south the river. And then we're starting to see east, which is out Ellenbrook Way and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But it's generally north and south, and it's a big divide.
Yes.
I mean, you've those ice hockey games at north play south and stuff like that. There's so many different things. Now, we've picked some north and south, and then probably going out a little bit east and maybe going southeast and kind of northwestish.
Yes.
That area. And this is where I find talking to people from WA and then talking to investors over east is where the mindset's changing. Oh, I don't want to live 45 minutes from the city, but hardly go to the city. Do you know what I mean? Like, Whereas over east, Melbourne and Sydney, they're an hour of travel to work every day. That's common knowledge. So them going $500,000 and I'm 45 minutes from the city and 20 from the beach. And the beaches we've got here are amazing. There's a little bit of a mindset shift changing. It's starting to change with some of the WA homebodies, but it's not quite there yet, And it's nothing wrong. It's just that we've had it so good in WA for so long that it's now this property market's really kicking that you can't live in your Coburns without spending top dollar. You can't live in your Joondalups without spending top dollar.
Yeah.
These, Buns beaches and things like that. These are sought after, Mindarie, sought after places to live, and they're not cheap anymore.
No.
$1 million, $800,000 to get a 2-story nice in there. So we'll talk about the kind of the graphics of how it works, and when we talk south of the river and north of the river.
Geographically, and sort of jumping off that, people that are looking at renting or buying in a property that's 45 minutes from the city generally don't work in the city. They don't have that commute. And what you find, Perth is very sprawled out sort of city. It's not a high density, high living sort of a layout. So what happens is generally you have your own shopping centres, you have your own hospitals, your movie theatres and everything in your own hub. Yep. So if you live around Rockingham, Kwinana, you generally work around there, you know. Same up in Joondalup, you generally work and live around there. Of course, Alkimos and what have you.
And that's where the hubs are. So I think the main hubs for us would be, you'd go Joondalup would be a hub, because generally where there's a hospital, there's a hub, right? Yeah. Then the Perth City, obviously. Then go out to Ellenbrook, slowly getting a hub. I'd say Ellenbrook is getting a hub with the train, the amenities going out there. And then you've got like Coburn, and then probably Rockingham as well now has got a bit of a hub going there. So there's probably 5 or 6, probably more as well. But they're your main ones that probably spring to mind. They've got the emergency hospitals.
Yeah, their own hubs, their own communities, their own places. And obviously if you're living 45 minutes away, you're generally not working in the city.
And they're very different people that live in these areas as well. So you've got some real rough
different
and ready,
profiles.
beautiful people, and then you've got like the rich. And somewhere in between. And I tell you, the people that are from certain areas are so proud of their areas they're from, right? Even if it's like, I'm proud of being there, and it's like, great, you're from a different area than me, and we both are like, nah, I love where I am.
Although we're both southeast.
They're both southeast. You got to be southeast, but No, anyway, let's jump onto the first suburb, and I love this suburb, so go.
Okay, so in terms of Perth's median rental yield as well, we're looking at about 4.8% across the board in a general sense in terms of like your return on your rental properties. Okay, Sydney's significantly lower, it's 3.2%. Okay. Which clearly, if you're looking at it from a numbers point of view, if you're going to looking for a good return on your rental property, Perth obviously makes significantly more sense than Sydney. So the places that we're obviously going to discuss in deeper detail generally have a good high rental yield and a low vacancy rate, and that's sort of the winning bread and butter kind of combo that we're looking at. So we're going to start with Armadale, which is our first suburb. Yep. Armadale is about 28 kilometres southeast of Perth. Mm-hmm. It is a established suburb. It's not a new area, but it is more like a lower socio-economic area that has really got those really big blocks with those, old houses that have been there for 30 to 50 years. Fibro, generally not the best built homes. But that area, I would say, would be skyrocketing in any Armadale, but anything around that as well. We just notice a huge demand for that area, right?
And in what these areas, you're not buying the house here, you're buying the land that it's on because it can be subdivided, right?
Yes, exactly.
And the close proximity it's got to the city, the 20 kilometres and the train lines that are in there and all that. Like there's a lot of amenities, so there's a lot of pluses in there, what I mean?
Because the suburb is already established, but the transport around it has already been taken into account.
And the amount of suburbs driving out there as well now, the Kilias and the Caras and all they're all starting to connect now, right? So yes,
and like what's interesting about Armadale is 40% are renters that live there, right? It's a huge opportunity for investors
And
to put money there.
That's not including people that rent from government housing. That's not them. These are actual private renters, right?
Yes, yeah, which is
huge.
a huge amount. It's those people that actually do rent there. So in terms of their rental yield, you're looking at 6.7% rental yield median for Armadale, compared to 3.8% Sydney. 6.7 is a huge return. What is really exciting about Armadale is its entry point in terms of investing. So medium house price, are you looking like mid 300s? So in terms of doing the numbers, most people are generally buying blocks quite large, developing them, doing 4 or 5 units on them, and then selling them for mid 300,000s. But sometimes I'm getting clients now that are just selling a few just to release some money, but then keeping it for a high yield, because you're looking at 6.7% rental yield. But like we're saying, with Armadale, the demand is so high with 40% of renters that the vacancy rate is only 0.4%, which means not only is there a lot of renters there, but there is a lot of people wanting to rent there, right? The demand is like super quick.
And that's the point I was making. People are really loyal to their areas.
Yes.
Like they're really loyal to you very rarely hear of people moving south to north, or you don't hear people leaving city south, moving down to Port Kennedy and Baldivis, they'll be straight down Margaret River. It's very, people either like the beach or they don't, or they like, it's very, I suppose it's the same in every state. You're just very, very
I think you want to stay where your family is a lot of the time, you know what I mean? And you want to stay where your mates are and everything like that, But Armadale, the demand is so high, the rental yield is one of the highest, and the vacancy rate is one of the lowest, right? So in terms of demand, Armadale is definitely number one. And
I don't see this as a loss either, because I just think Armadale will get bypassed. It'll just, the growth will grow over it, and it'll become it'll become a good area to you're moving down to Sienna Woods and Byford, Stockland's great Sienna Woods, which is a private estate. And wherever stockies go, there's always a community. They've probably built one of the biggest communities I've ever seen in Baldivis, right? And then all the other developers were around it quickly, right? So now I'm with you. I think Armadale and the Gauzies and that kind of are absolutely perfect. Gauzies we haven't put on there, just want to quickly shout out, just because the numbers don't add up.
Yeah.
But if you're willing just to make some money and sit on it, I think Gauzies is going to be huge. I think Armadale and Gosnells are going to explode in the next 3-4 years.
Generally
because
that
of where
pocket
they're at.
Yeah,
because it's
exactly.
untouched, and it's, people go, it's Armadale and Gauzies. Those days are gone now. It's like Balga as well, north, right?
Yeah.
Balga's right in the middle of Dianella, 10-15 minutes of the city. It's a perfect suburb, and it's so cheap. But again, it's taking people with capital to buy it and maybe just sit on it. And right now, I think there's other opportunities to get them a bit of a ROI quicker, which you understand. But if you've got a long-term vision going, hey, I'm going to sit on this,
yes,
I think those are pretty good areas.
What is really favourable is City of Armadale and also City of Gosnells, to be fair, are really good with their planning. So their subdivisions are quite quick to go through planning for council approval, things like that. But also they have sort of higher R zones, so you can do those multi-developments.
Yeah.
You're looking at the 4 to 6.
I've seen that. I've seen they'll code it, but we're open to doing it R20 or something. But you have to put a plan in and how it works. So it's not just a case of, it's not like an exempt. You've got to apply for it. You can go and just do R40 and it's fine, no problem. You've done it. But to do like an R20, you have to ask for us and go through a bit of like a business plan with them, saying this is what I want to do and how I rent it, and they'll make amends on it, and they'll look at how much is coming into the area. Is it going to get swallowed up, or is there a need for it? They're pretty good at working with developers that way, which I've found really like a phone call. They're pretty decent to work with, especially Armadale. Yeah,
Armadale's easy in terms of like for us anyway.
Yeah,
because we have to do the planning. But okay, let's go through next suburb, which is Orelia. Orelia is in the city of Kwinana.
So on the south, it's basically on the beach, right? It's on the coast.
Yeah, it's about 30 minutes south, but along the coast. So Armadale is southeast. Kwinana's just directly down south. So
on the train line.
30 k's north, 30 k's south, but about 30 kilometres, 30 minutes drive as well. The train line's right there. Kwinana, like we were saying at the beginning, is its own little hub as well. So Orelia is the suburb just next to Kwinana, and it's really growing at a rapid pace. So in saying that, the 1 year growth of Orelia is 14.6%, right? And I looked into this, and I think really the reasons it's growing so quickly in terms of median house price is purely because people buying those bigger blocks to demolish and build on them, 5 days on the market is the average established house in Orelia, okay? And they're not generally nice houses to live. They're just really just those crapola houses that we're going to get rid of.
They're all the old timber frames on. There's a lot of timber frames, which is I like building timber frame, but they're old timber frames built on stilts. And so I play golf in Kwinana. The golf club there's pretty good. I'll give them Kwinana Golf Club. It's a good club. And I drive through the old areas, and you just see them, and it's proper 1960s Australia, right?
Yeah.
Big, massive blocks. Yeah.
Yeah, big blocks. So really, it's like 5 days on the market for the established market, but it's really people buying it for the land, right? So they're really the land bankers, the developers that are looking at Orelia, and that's why you look at almost 15% growth in the last year for Orelia. In terms of vacancy rate, it's even less than Armadale at the moment, 0.3% vacancy rate, which is half of what Perth is at 0.6, which is extremely low as well.
That's just counting the 12 hours between people moving in and out then. Because
I honestly,
move out.
I kind of just want to do a test and be like, if we put a rental for Orelia on Marketplace and see how many people will get, we'll just do like a taste test. But median house price, you're looking mid-300s for Orelia. So it's super... opportunity in terms of like if you don't have a huge amount of capital to work with, but also 32% of Orelia are renters. Okay, so very similar demographic to Armadale, where low vacancy rate, but people really want to rent there.
You look at it, you buy one, say you pay the $350 for it, right? $350 for the land, right? That's what you're in. You got to knock it down 25 grand roughly, right?
Yeah.
375 subdivision, call it. That's four. You're subdividing at 425, right? That's you done it. It's ready to go. Got to build 2 houses, call it 500k. What are you on 900,000? But you can get 2 of them. Then the rent on them is huge.
Yeah,
that's where the opportunity is.
Yeah.
With regards to like the growth down that way, so Fremantle Port sits in the city of Fremantle, right on the water, right up to the sheds and all that stuff.
Yeah,
and we know that's going. They've moved it because it's too hard to get it in. There's the traffic getting the people into it. It's just it doesn't work because they've got to go through the city of Fremantle. There's no parking for the staff. It's just so they're moving it down to the old down to Kwinana. There's an estuary down in Kwinana, and that's where the BP refinery used to be. Yeah. That's gone. That's getting closed down, and the Kwinana ports have took that back. So that's all business. So outside of the Kwinana, between Kwinana and kind of Hammond Park, it's all just business land. It's going to be commercial, and it's not going to change because 10, 15 years ago or 20 years ago, they bought all the land in Wadlup and got rid of Wadlup. They forced people out their homes. Yeah. Basically saying, you will take this. And they've been sitting on that land waiting for this transaction to happen.
And it's really that what we'll sort of touching point at the beginning is people that work there want to live there, right? So obviously when the jobs move there, that's when obviously the rental prices are holding up. Yeah. And that's why you're looking at 6.7% rental yield for Orelia as well, very high. It's that concept of like a little mining town in the middle of Kalgoorlie or whatever, and then you're paying, $1,200 a week for the rental. It's just demand. You obviously want to live near where you work, right?
Think of the amount of job opportunities that are coming with the ports. Most people will probably still live there or still work there, but if they can live in Kwinana and Orelia and Medina, all those areas that are in the area, there'll be 10 minutes to work every day, and there'll be zero traffic because they'll be in and out. It's just all, it's all like a commercial area, so it'll be pretty
people
good.
Have that foresight, and that's why they're buying the blocks now. And we're already working on building a few that are
with dock workers and that, with dock workers and all that kind of thing. You'll see a lot more rentals in that sort of area. They're coming chasing a bit of money.
Yes, so Orelia is definitely one that we're dealing with a lot. But number 3 is Baldivis, which we know like the back of our hand.
Just so many deals.
I feel like I'm there every week.
Cheap and cheerful.
Baldivis, how to explain Baldivis? So that is also south. How far?
40 minutes.
Probably, 40 minutes, somewhere there.
40 minutes, right? It's right off the freeway.
Right off the freeway. It's definitely its own hub, Baldivis. It is massive. Huge. I would say within the last 5 years, Baldivis was nothing and now it's something. Median house price there, you look in the mid-400s. We used to laugh what we could get people in. I did like 280 packages back in the day.
Crazy.
For house and land. And now, mid-4s. It's a really beautiful like family community, right? Mm-hmm. And what's great about Baldivis is you have all the schools are built now, all the shopping centre, all the amenities.
There's loads of shopping centres. There's the big main one, and then there's about 5 or 6 dotted down all over the place. And then you've got old Baldivis and new Baldivis and newer Baldivis, and it's massive.
It's a massive hub, but what we're finding now is because it's such a family community that the young families want to rent there. They all want to live there in terms of buying as well. I think you're looking average 7 days for established property in Baldivis. They're moving very, very quick, you know. It still surprises me how fast Baldivis has grown, but then when you look at it in terms of like transport and amenities and you know, where it's situated in terms of where it is to the beach and things like that, it makes sense. Do you know what I mean? Now you're sort of getting those people who've been there for 5 to 10 years, and now their kids, they all want to live around there, you know, but live out of home. So then they're staying and they're looking for rental properties around that area. So my mother-in-law, she lives there, and her house just got valued, I'm not joking, $850 in Baldivis. Big block, obviously, it's 800 square metre block and all the rest of it. But, $850 in Baldivis, if you told me that how many years ago, I would never believe you.
There's parts of Baldivis as well that people might not know, that there's acreage. So there's like the community, and then just behind Baldivis, there's acreage, people living on 5-6 acres, and they're going for 1.5 to 1.8 mil at the moment. Then you're in Carlup, and they're beautiful areas. But the part, what I want to go back to Baldivis and why the community is so strongly, and what's happened is it's a lot of expats or a lot of people that come over from primarily the UK, right?
Yeah. And
when they've landed, like, we want to, Mum and my dad done this. That's why I'm down that way as well, is we want to live near the beach. Are you an expat? No, I'm kidding. I gave it away. We want to live near the beach and have a big property. And at that point, Port Kennedy's and your Baldivises were all prime. So people bought there. And then, like you said, they've been there 10 years now. So that's their community. They've got nowhere else to go, sort of thing, because, when they live in the UK, they, same as if they grow up in Armadale, they stay there. They've landed in that area and they're staying. So the growth is huge. And that's where you're seeing those communities starting to really build. The amount of soccer clubs, I didn't call it soccer, but I have to for my Australian listeners, it's really football, right? But the amount of football clubs and rugby clubs and all that stuff that's growing up there is astronomical. It's like you drive around and there's just footy, rugby league everywhere. So
yes.
And then the other beautiful thing down there is the Garden Island, the Navy base, which is just off of Shoalwater there, just down Safety Bay. That's a Navy base, and it's got hundreds of sailors and all that in there and things like that, and they buy. There's a company called it's a government company called the DHA, the Defence Housing Association, and they rent houses off of anyone, and they put sailors in there. And the reason they do it is because sometimes sailors are only there 3 months and they turn them over quickly. Bit more information on later. They rent it off you for 9 years. They give you just under the market value.
Yeah,
but they
then
guarantee
you have a rental.
But they guarantee
of 9
it, and then they repair everything back to the way you want it. It's actually pretty good if the numbers stack up for you.
Yeah.
Sometimes it doesn't work for you. Sometimes it's great, but it's a good way to have that. And because Baldivis is only 15 minutes from Garden Island, it's like a perfect location for them to do all that stuff.
Because you've got that mix of the family, but then obviously work-wise it makes sense.
Yeah, so it's great location.
Touching on that, I always call Baldivis has that neighbours effect, So with expats, you always get your UK clients or whatever, and they go, I'm moving to Australia and I want this house that's near the beach, and then you're going to work part-time in the cafe, and, my life's going to be breezy and going to be tanned and blonde and beautiful, and just be Chris Hemsworth on Home and Away.
And I'm like, Alf at the surf club. Is that what it is?
And just hang out. And I'm like, okay, it's probably not the Australian reality.
Then you
but
realise it's 38 degrees and you try to work in it and you're like, what the hell is going on? No, this wasn't in the brochure. What's this 38 degrees? I hate life.
You can see the sun.
I'm white, I'm translucent, so imagine me in the sun.
And Baldivis definitely has the neighbours effect, and the so sort of like the demographic around that area is definitely those expats.
Joondalup has Joondalup and Baldivis are almost the same. I just think Baldivis is more spread out. Joondalup seems a bit more crushed on top. Yes. Baldivis is spread out a little bit. I just feel that the blocks are a little bit bigger. But Baldivis was created and pushed harder than Joondalup was. Joondalup was a little bit behind, but again, still, that's where there's a real value there.
So to wrap up Baldivis, we're looking at a really strong growth, about 9% yearly growth on Baldivis, and vacancy rate, again, is lower than average, 0.4%. I think it's about 25% of renters. It's just they're the ones, if we're looking mostly for clients I would either recommend a sort of dual living home because, of what we sort of discussed, but also those really classic 4x2 family homes, because the renters that rent there generally rent for like 5 years at a time. They want those long-term rentals purely because it's those family homes and their children are in their local schools and things like that, and they don't really want to move around. They want to make that home their home. So either that traditional single-story home or really just like a dual living. So for like those independent commute kind of guys, that's Baldivis really hits, and that's why they get that higher rental yield of 5.4% as well. So let's move north of the river. So, we're getting a little bit uncomfortable for us as Southeast, but Banksia Grove.
Can I just, before we go on, the reason there's not as many in north of the river is because the north of the river I feel is way more built up. I feel that the south's just catching up. If you go through the south and you go all the way down, there's big banks of like land that's not been sold yet or they're just building. 5 years, I think north and south will be very much the same with the housing way.
Yeah.
You drive up north and it's just house, right? You come down south and you've got the big gap still. Now I know that Florence and State and that are going to get there, but I just feel that there's more opportunities down and going out east than there is north of the river. And that's
in
something
terms of
we're not
land
biased
opportunities, in terms of like development and like rental yields, which is sort of what we're focusing on. That makes more sense. You know what I mean?
That's what I just want to point out why we've been biased. No, it's just that's what we're just giving you the best value for money.
Banksia Grove is north of the river. It's very similar to Baldivis but flipped. So it's 30 minutes north of the river, 30 k's. Easy to go on the train line. It's just inland of Joondalup, which is like we're saying that hub north of the river there. Yep.
Yeah, and there's not much land left in it from the current stages. I know there's a few more stages coming. But yeah, there's not an awful lot left.
Yeah, so Banksia Grove is the city of Wanneroo, which is generally pretty good to work with in terms of planning as well. Vacancy rate 0.4%, so shockingly low, very hard to get a rental. So if you've got a rental, definitely rent it out for a high amount because it's about 6.6% rental yield in Banksia Grove. Again, I think it's like 5-10 kilometres from the beach as well. So you have that neighbours effect for people that want to live there. But it has that family.
Hey? It's home and away up
there. Home and away up there? Neighbours down south. Okay,
yeah.
Well, let's do that. So for that home and away living, Banksia Grove is great because yes, it's close to the beach, but you have that family community that Banksia Grove has. Do you know what I mean? Growth there, you're looking about 14% in the last year. So a lot of land banking for those sort of developer clients we have.
What do you mean by land banking?
Land banking, it's like a term. Essentially, people are collecting land, obviously sort of those 1,000 square metre blocks plus, to either hold and to basically flip or subdivide, develop, depending what they want to do. So they're not buying that property for that house, they're buying it for the land.
Yep.
Okay. Banksia Grove. Next one, last one, Greenfields.
Go back down south.
Here we go, back down south.
All the way down to Mandurah.
Mandurah.
Recently stopped being a country town. Classed as a country town. Only recently, like really? 5 years ago or something, yeah. It's still a class of country town because people used to go and to get their second year for the visa, working holiday visa, they go and work in Mandurah and class the country town.
It is hilarious.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it?
Yeah. Good. So Mandurah's like, 45 minutes, somewhere there? South?
Maybe a little bit longer, maybe about an hour from the city.
It depends how fast you drive, but I'm 45 minutes.
Half an hour.
So, Greenfields is just east of Mandurah. So in terms of Mandurah, it is a shire or city on the beach, but Greenfields is just a little bit inland, so it's between the lake and the beach there. So really popular for, I'm finding, more like retirees and people that just want that like nature life, but again, it's sort of that topic that we're talking on where people generally want to stay where they've been brought up. So it's people that lived in Mandurah and they've been there for 20 years, they work around that area, but Greenfields is just that suburb out of it, and they want that retirement. So what I'm finding is demand for new builds in Greenfields is very high because the people, that are 70 years old plus, they really want that sort of simple living home where it's new, it's clean, it's modern, it's low maintenance, lock and leave. They don't have that fibro home that they have a lot down there. They don't have, the wooden floorboards where they don't know what's happening with the asbestos and what have you. They really just want those clean new builds. Demand is just very high. So you're looking at 0.3% vacancy rate, so one of our lowest. they just get snapped up so quick.
And they're all
there,
pretty
right?
big blocks in there as well, aren't they?
Huge blocks, yeah. But what I'm finding is it's more like the demand for those newer homes because demographically it's really those people that really want those low maintenance blocks more so than anything. And then rental yield 6.6%. So, you know, I know we keep saying these numbers, but if you think the average in Sydney is 3.2% rental yield and you can get 6.6%, you know, it's silly because the median house price is high 300s in Greenfields.
So just think about, you know, what the investors come back. So we'll talk about what the ROI or the rental yield is, what they're getting, right? Is what are your investors looking for? Mine are around about that 5% mark. That's really where they want to play in 4.5 to about 5.5. And 4.5 minimum.
Yeah.
Other than that, they don't seem to be like, oh, it's not really worth it unless we can, like, you know, we say, hey, we're going to Gauzies, we'll do this sub-development, there's 3 houses, this is the plan. Now it's 4% just now, but we predict in the next 2 years it's going to go to 5.5 because the demand's going to be there. Then we might go, but we've got to do our work and show proof to these investors that it's there.
Yeah.
And we're starting to see them more and more going, yeah, now that's fine, we're happy with the 4% because, you know, if we go with 4% in Coburn, there's no point in doing that because that's not going to get any more, right? Until you pay, unless you pay it down or whatever. But going out to these places, you know, your Byfields, Gauzies, Armadale, yeah, you're not going to get a high rental, but we know that given time, you will get the yield back on them already. I believe that's my opinion.
So, like, I'm finding something like a Greenfield. Someone might invest $1 million, 1.2 there, and do sort of 4 units. They will sell 2 or 3, get their money back, and then just rent the 1 or 2 out, and it's basically just the cash flow positive.
Just want to preface all this is like we're certainly not financial advisors. We're just giving you our experience of what we've seen in the market.
Yeah.
All the information we've got, we've just dragged off the internet, and you can easily get it yourself. You know, Google REWA and all that, and realestate.com, all that give you all that information. That's the one. We're looking at trends, what we see and what we know, and we're literally living in this area going, there's nowhere else to go.
Yeah. And we're kind of going, well, why are all my clients asking for Orelia? Why are they always asking for Armadale? Like Armadale, I get calls weekly on Armadale, you know.
Yeah.
And then, you know, we obviously know why because, you know, we see the numbers. And look, we will build where you want to build, but right now it's the investors that are looking to build,
And we always want, and tell us why you want to do it and what the reasons. It's not just a case of build that there for that money. We want to, there's a couple of things in it. There's a moral aspect for me. I want to go, okay, if we're building this, what does it look like for the future for you? I do a bit of research and go, look, I don't think this is, I will actually tell you, I don't think this is a good investment. I don't think it will last longer than a couple of years.
Yeah.
But again, it's your money at the end of the day. I just want to give you kind of my, I won't say professional experience, but my experience of being in the industry long enough to go, I know where the game, I know where it's going, and I can see what's happening. You know, we do read, we do listen, we talk to other builders, we talk to other people. We share information because we all need to help each other. But that's what we do. But again, if you want to build it, you know, we'll give you our thoughts and what we think. But yeah, generally we're pretty much bang on the money with what you want.
Yeah. So if you are looking at high yield rentals, let's just go through them again. Armadale, Orelia, Baldivis, Banksia Grove, and what was the last one? Greenfields. Yeah. So yeah.
And again, the only one tip I've got is if you're doing an investment, it's bricks and mortar at the end of the day. Don't get attached to it. Put in the builder standard range at investment level and walk away and leave it. Many clients, if you had done investments and they want stone and they want this colour paint, you're like, it's just going to get ruined or you're going to have to replace it. It's not, you know, so please take the emotion out of doing investment properties. You'll get yourself stuck on it.
Yeah. I actually choose the colours myself for my clients.
I get you to do it.
I like that stuff. So I'm like, let me do it. Let me design it.
Me and Kathy used to work together and I would say, hey, can you help the client with this? Because I'm just,
I'm choosing the tiles and
you'll get black,
like
white
it.
and grey with me. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, look, again, thanks very much for listening. Please like, share, follow, subscribe to all the good stuff. We want comments. Do I need to slow down? Am I talking too fast? Can you understand me?
We need what's it called? Subtitles.
So I've done this before and subtitles didn't even work. They were like, we've no idea what he's saying. So anyway, but look, I'm doing you the service. I'm getting you just to listen. So you're going to be fluent in Scottish by the end of listening to our podcasts. But again, thank you very much. Like, share, subscribe, comment, and we'll talk to you soon.
See you later.
Bye.